Listen, I like Bitcoin, right? Bitcoin is math, and math has been around for thousands of years. 2 plus 2 is going to equal 4, and it will for the next 2,000 years. So I like the idea of investing in something that's reliable, consistent, honest, and 100% certain. So Bitcoin has appealed to me because it's a way for me to invest in certainty, where again, I look at the difference between the Fed of 2013, the Fed of 2021. I'm going, how can this, do I want to have faith necessarily? I look at the difference between Trump and Biden. Do I want to have faith in that same reliability and consistency of human nature? And the linear nature of human nature, which we know is anything but that.
You like Bitcoin at these prices?
Listen,
you got in at about 10,000?
I like Bitcoin as a portfolio diversifier. Everyone always asks me, what should I do with my portfolio? My employees say, I say, okay, listen, the only thing that I know for certain is I want to have 5% in gold, 5% in Bitcoin, 5% in cash, 5% in commodities at this point in time. I don't know what I want to do with the other 80%. I want to wait and see what the Fed's going to do, because what they do will have a big impact.
So that was Paul Tudor Jones, who's very bullish on Bitcoin. And he says Bitcoin is math. Math has been around for thousands of years. 2 plus 2 is going to equal 4, and it will for the next 2,000 years. I like the idea of investing in something that's reliable, consistent, honest, and 100% certain. Guys, huge day for Bitcoin. The prices are going crazy. Where is Bitcoin heading next, and how should you be structuring the portfolio? Is Paul Tudor Jones right? Let's have a look further into today's video. So Paul Tudor Jones actually is also quite interesting in that he used to say in 2020 that he would only invest 1% in Bitcoin, but now he's saying that he's happy to invest 5% in Bitcoin. And he's a big boy, so you're obviously investing more and more into Bitcoin, which is a bullish sign for Bitcoin. It's also interesting to note that SEC has no plans to regulate Bitcoin in 2021. SEC has released its 2021 regulatory agenda, and it has left out Bitcoin and cryptocurrency. Instead, its focus is on short selling, a topic that has grown into a heated debate in the wake of meme stock craze like GameStop and AMC Theater. So it believes that there needs to be more protection over them. The response that they have is a little bit contradicting in that Gary Gensler from SEC believes that there should be some sort of regulatory mechanisms for cryptocurrency, but right now is not the time. And there is a clear distinction between cryptocurrency and securities. So that he's saying that, well, cryptocurrency is probably a part of the investment criteria that SEC has no jurisdiction over, and he's not really interested in putting any protection over it at this present time, which is very, very interesting. Moving forward, there's a huge demand from institutionals for cryptocurrencies at the moment. Like we see from Paul Tudor Jones, we also see Goldman Sachs starting to trade Ethereum options and futures, and this is happening after they've already accepted Bitcoin. So Goldman Sachs, one of the biggest investment banks, will offer Ethereum futures and options trading in the coming months. The move comes after bank embraced Bitcoin earlier this year. The move comes 4 months after Goldman Sachs reopened its crypto trading desk and started offering Bitcoin futures contracts, which is very exciting. I just want to stress the point of how exciting it is that Goldman Sachs just accepted Ethereum's derivative products, because Goldman Sachs, they didn't consider Bitcoin a legitimate asset last year. And it changed its position just recently, calling it an investable asset with its own idiosyncratic risk, partly because it's still relatively new and going through an adoption phase. Right? Clients and beyond are largely treating it as a new asset class, which is notable. It's not often that the world gets to witness an emergence of a new asset class, which is really exciting. In March, Goldman Sachs filed an application to the US SEC, right, for an investment product that could expose clients indirectly to Bitcoin. The product, a linked note or an income producing product tied to the security or basket of securities like an ETF, will track the ARK Innovations ETF, which has a large investment into Grayscale Bitcoin Investment Trust. Right? A bit complex, but it basically means that Goldman Sachs just issued a share or a security of some nature where it will have exposure to Bitcoin. And look, it's really interesting how people are commenting on this move. Okay. Goldman Sachs chief of commodities said that he considered Bitcoin to be digital copper, since it's similarly volatile and shares similar characteristics, but not quite as secure as gold. But that's what this comment here means, making it unsuitable for safety preserving capital. Ardent Bitcoin investors consider Bitcoin to be digital gold or safe long-term investment, which is very interesting. Now, let me talk to you about Goldman Sachs. Goldman Sachs, as of 2020, has 2.1 trillion USD as its assets under management. Now, 2.1 trillion compared to the global crypto market cap, which is 1.73 trillion, is more. Right? So Goldman Sachs is a huge company. If it decides to allocate some of its money into cryptocurrencies, it has the power to shake cryptocurrency market as we know it. And guys, we know that they're not the only publicly listed company that is looking at cryptocurrency, Bitcoin namely, as their treasury. These are the companies that own Bitcoin as part of its corporate treasury. We've got Tesla, which only comes second, MicroStrategy being number one. And we've got some exciting news coming up for MicroStrategy as well. Overall, 6.798% of Bitcoin is held by big boys. I'm talking ETFs, countries, public companies, and private companies. And this number is only going to increase as the days and the years to come. And that's the argument that Winklevoss twins are making. Let's have a listen to what they think about the price of Bitcoin.
So we still think it's really early. We think Bitcoin's gold 2.0. It will disrupt gold, so its market cap has to be 10 trillion or more because that's the market cap of gold. So Bitcoin's hovering around 1 trillion now. We still think it's a 10, at least conservatively a 10x from here. So even at 35,000, it feels like a really good buying opportunity long term, because we think at a $10 trillion market cap, we think one Bitcoin will be worth $500,000. And we think that could happen inside this decade, definitely the next 5 years. So we're hodlers at least until $500,000. And then at that point, you won't even have to sell because you can borrow off it or whatever.
Okay, so that was the Winklevoss twins at the Bitcoin event in Miami. One of the arguments that they're also saying that the number of companies, the number of institutional investors that hold Bitcoin as treasuries is only going to increase. And the reason for that is to hedge against any of the risky businesses that they're running so that they actually have another source of income from growth in Bitcoin, which we know MicroStrategy and Tesla really isn't a particularly profitable car manufacturing company. In fact, they made more money from Bitcoin than they've ever made on selling cars. And MicroStrategy is kind of the same. So yeah, it is a big deal that Goldman Sachs is then opening up its investment vehicles to many cryptocurrency options. And it's really, really crazy at the moment to note that MicroStrategy is selling 1 billion more in stock to buy more Bitcoin. It's a cloud software company, already has most of its treasury holdings in the alternative asset. MicroStrategy is a cloud software company, and they already own some 76% of their treasuries in Bitcoin, which is quite significant. And they're gearing up to sell more shares, which means they're going to raise more funds, up to $1 billion worth of shares, to actually buy up more Bitcoin. The cloud software company filed paperwork today with SEC for a proposed public sale of Class A common stock via open market sale agreement, which is quite crazy. We intend to use the net proceeds from the sale of any Class A common stock offered under the prospectus for general corporate purposes, including the acquisition of Bitcoin. It just recently sold $500 million in corporate debt last week, and when it raised $400 million worth of bonds, they actually got an order exceeding $1.6 billion. So now that $500 million of that is now fulfilled, I guess they genuinely identify $1.1 billion worth of extra cash that is identifiable out there that's ready to be invested into this company, knowing exactly what they're going to do, which is to invest into Bitcoin. The concentration of our Bitcoin holdings enhances the risk inherent in our Bitcoin acquisition strategy. Servicing our debt will require a significant amount of cash, and we may not have the sufficient cash flow from our business to pay our indebtedness, which is interesting because they're going to issue bonds and they're going to have to pay coupon rates for it. But the thing is, if they're not actually cashing out their Bitcoin, then how are they going to have the cash to actually pay it back? So they've actually bought a lot of Bitcoins at various amounts. So they're saying that in August, $11,000. There's some other reports saying that they bought it on average of about $24,000 per Bitcoin. So yeah, they're looking pretty at the moment. But the thing is, are they going to sell? Our Bitcoin holdings are less liquid than our existing cash, and cash equivalents may not be able to serve as a source of liquidity for us to the same extent as cash, and cash equivalents erode. So it needs to actually have some shares raised so that it can actually have some money to pay back on the bonds. But either way, this is a very, very bullish sign from a very, very large company, publicly listed company that sees value in Bitcoin, and overall is a very, very bullish sign on the movement of Bitcoin. And more on the Bitcoin news and what's actually influenced its price recently is a tweet from Cointelegraph. Did you see Elon Musk is catching flack again? But what's it for this time? And Elon Musk actually replied to that saying, this is inaccurate. Tesla only sold 10% of its holdings to confirm BTC could be liquidated easily without moving the market. Yes, that is what he claimed. When there's confirmation of reasonable 50% clean energy usage by miners with positive future trend, Tesla will resume allowing Bitcoin transactions. So based on that hope, the price has increased a bit. Now, there is someone else that has that same issue. That is our Senator Elizabeth Warren, who called for a crackdown on cryptocurrencies due to environmental concerns rather than investor protection. So here is a very, very interesting response from the CEO of Riot Blockchain, who mines Bitcoin for a living.
Exchange of information. Elon Musk had tweeted some thoughts around Bitcoin and its energy usage lately. And it was really a forum for a number of Bitcoin miners just to talk about what they're doing relative to Bitcoin mining in North America, what their relationship with renewable energy is. And I think that's a story that doesn't get told enough. And what's important to note is Bitcoin miners are using more renewable energy than any other major industry on average. 76% of Bitcoin miners utilize renewable energy in their mix-up. About 40% estimation is about 40% of global Bitcoin mining is powered by straight renewable energy. And there's a couple of key reasons for that. One is Bitcoin mining takes energy as an input. That's what helps drive the security for Bitcoin. It's a very important tool that allows disconnected parties all over the world to run this financial system without having to trust each other. And the story that needs to be told is you find this energy, you find low cost energy where there's a surplus of energy, where there's energy that's not being consumed because there's a renewable generation source stranded out there, congested out there, that doesn't have energy, doesn't have a buyer of that energy. And Bitcoin miners are the buyers of last resort of stranded energy. So the discussion with Elon was really an opportunity for a number of large Bitcoin miners to talk about what they're doing relative to their energy makeup.
So it's really interesting to note that 40% of Bitcoin mining is on renewable energy. So very close to that 50% mark that Tesla is requesting at the moment. But who cares about Tesla? But you know what? Everyone actually does care about Tesla, because Elon, as much as we don't like to admit it, has a lot more influence than we want to attribute his influence on. So it looks like Bitcoin is not actually bad as most people think. And compared to other industries, it's actually using quite a lot more renewable resource. So now let's actually have a look at the price of Bitcoin. We're seeing this graph here at the moment. And what I see this graph is that it's looking very similar to this Wyckoff market cycle, distribution cycle model. This is rule number 2. And we seem to be at this accumulation bottom phase at the moment. And the idea here is that the longer that we stay in this accumulation bottom, the harder that we're going to see a bullish trend to follow after that. And that's something that we see quite consistent with this particular idea that we find in TradingView, is that we're going to see that it's going to consolidate its price around that $40,000 mark, and it's going to go into that phase E at the moment. We're in that phase D at this moment, and we're going to see some interesting gains to follow in the near future. This doesn't mean that this is exactly going to happen, but we may continue the channel between that early $40,000 mark and then that low $30,000 mark, which means that in that volatility, there is money to be made. Now, it's up to you how you want to structure your deal, and you would have to be pretty experienced to catch them on the bottom and then sell it at the top to make those consistent profits. But you know, if you find those things difficult, then what you can do, just like me, is to just hodl and continue to see the very bullish trend on Bitcoin take its effect and improve your portfolio along the track. Not to mention, there are more countries at the moment where Bitcoin is wanting to become legal tender. We see countries such as Paraguay, Panama, Mexico, Venezuela, Brazil are the ones that we're going to be watching out for as well. Nicaragua, Argentina, Malta are the ones that are looking at adopting Bitcoin as legal tender after El Salvador. So having digested all this information together, there is a clear bullish trend and a mass adoption that is ready to happen on Bitcoin. And as we know in the market, once Bitcoin goes up, all the other old currencies are going to go up as well. I'm not saying that as a universal truth or as a rule or anything like that. So there is a way that you can take advantage of this phenomena and to actually secure more gains in your portfolio. Yes, you can just go for the Bitcoin, and there is a clear trajectory for Bitcoin into the future. But what you can also do is to stretch out that risk curve, I think, like Raoul Pal does, so that you can actually secure bigger gains by diversifying your portfolio into smaller cryptocurrencies, where you're going to see that mass adoption drive that price up together as well. No, you will not know as a retail investor every intricate detail and movement of every cryptocurrency and its roadmap into the future. Yes, you can do some research based on the claims that these companies are making, but overall, we are seeing a very bullish trend that has come into the cryptocurrency world, and we're still at a very, very early stage at the moment. And yet, there is fear in the market. There is volatility in the market, but these all point to an opportunity for you to capitalize and continue to make good money off of crypto investment for 2021. Thank you so much for tuning in today. Make sure you go follow my social channels. Make sure you like, subscribe, and ring the notification bell, and I'll see you in the next video. Peace out.